Okay, we are looking at DNA, and DNA is what codes for growth or cell division. Okay, DNA is the code stored in our cell that tells it what to do. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and it's this deoxyribonucleic acid which contains information for an organism's growth and function. Okay, DNA was first discovered in the 1800s, but it wasn't really understood until Watson and Crick studied it in the 1950s. It was these two gentlemen, these two scientists, who first discovered that DNA's structure is a double helix. And that double helix is made up of nitrogen base pairs. Okay, nitrogen base pairs are molecules that always bond together, and we call these nucleotide bases. Okay, they are adenine, which always bonds with thymine, cytosine, which always bonds with guanine. And the supporting strands on either side of this double helix shape are made up of a sugar called deoxyribose. When DNA is copied, it's copied when the chromosomes are duplicated just before mitosis or meiosis, at which point the DNA in the nucleus is doubled so that all new cells resulting from mitosis and meiosis have that same information, have that same DNA. So you can see from this diagram here, we have our nitrogen base pairs in the middle, the T for thymine bonded with A for adenine, C for cytosine bonded with G for guanine, and on either side, we have our deoxyribose supporting sugars. Okay, over here you can see that the DNA is being copied, and this again would happen in the chromosome just prior to mitosis or meiosis. So how do we get from a cell to our genes, our genetic information? Remember, inside of the cell is the nucleus. Inside the nucleus are the chromosomes, those little X shapes that you've seen on our diagrams. Now, chromosomes contain all genetic material. Each chromosome has all these different segments. Each segment is called up a gene. Okay? A gene is made up of DNA. So DNA is the material that's hanging out in the genes on the chromosomes. So what do genes do for us? Characteristics such as hair color, eye color, and height all depend on the proteins that your cells make. And the information for what proteins to make is carried on your genome. Okay, DNA stores these instructions. Remember, DNA is like the blueprints for how you make a one of you. Okay, DNA stores instructions for making proteins. Proteins, which you'll recall, are made in the ribosomes, build cells and tissues. Okay, so specific instructions for each protein are found on a gene. Again, a gene is a section of DNA on the chromosome. So that information on how to make proteins is carried from your genes to the nucleus, and it's carried there by the ribonucleic acid, the RNA, okay, because the proteins are made by the ribosomes. Now, sometimes mutations can occur. Maybe the DNA isn't copied exactly, and if that happens, then any proteins made from those instructions will have mistakes in it. And these mistakes may result in mutations. One mutation would be uncontrolled cell division or cell growth, which can cause cancer. Mutations are any permanent change to the DNA sequence. Sunlight, X-rays, and some chemicals can cause mutations.